Hi, my name is Gracia, and I have ulcerative colitis. I wanted to talk about it. I'm guessing you have it too, if that's why you're watching this video. I'm gonna tell you like how I got diagnosed with it, what symptoms I had, what symptoms I ignored, the medicine that's helping, and then what you should and shouldn't do during flare-ups. Mine is very severe. They did tell me that it is. My whole fucking shit was inflamed, okay? I don't think my experience and suffering for 3 months is normal, but that is unfortunately what happened to me. And so hopefully my experience makes you feel better, because mine was pretty fucking dramatic. But yeah, trigger warning, I do talk about poop a lot in this video. Maybe just don't eat anything while you watch this. I wanted to make sure that I filmed this once I was feeling okay, because I need you to know that it gets better. Yeah. I watched a lot of these videos when I was in the hospital, so I didn't feel so alone. I'm gonna do my makeup while I talk about this, because if not, then the video is really boring. So I'm gonna be drinking. Never had these. Has prebiotics, natural energy. I got peach mango because everything else looked kind of sour. Oh, this is good. And this was a very emotional experience. And I'm going to be doing my makeup while I talk about this. I guess I can start. But yeah, this was a very emotional experience for me. I think anything having to do with not your appearance. I mean, yeah, your appearance, because I lost like 30 pounds really quickly. And not just that, but like food is an everyday part of life. I'm getting emotional talking about it. Food is an everyday part of life. It's such a social thing, as well as something that you need to survive. And bowel movements naturally come along with that, and that's like a natural thing for a human to do. Like, genuinely, I was scared to eat because I was scared to poop like that. Ugh. It's gonna take a long time for me to heal from this experience, and I don't think that it's normal for someone to have gone through this for 3 months. And I think that it was just, God, like for me, negligence, obviously, which is why I'm crying right now. I think I'm done crying for now. Sunscreen. But this all started, well, I don't know how long I've had this. I have concluded that I've had this my whole life, but I ignored the symptoms or confused them for something else. But I did ignore some symptoms leading up to. I've only recently started incorporating caffeine into my diet, and I'm so glad that that's not a trigger for me because it's such an important part of my life. As I was saying, there's a lot of symptoms that led to me ignoring this for a long time. But when the symptoms became no longer ignorable was around Halloween. So that week of Halloween, I just went real quick to go get Subway while I did my homework, and I remember my stomach immediately hurting after I ate the sandwich. And like 30 minutes later, I used the restroom, and I remember my stool was like pasty, so already I'm like, fuck, because it wasn't solid, and it was like dark. It was like dark, almost black. So I was like, that's kind of weird. And I didn't throw up. I just had like diarrhea that night. So the next day I didn't go to work. And I remember the pain didn't go away. And I remember like the diarrhea never went away. So I was like, okay, I guess I have to go to work like this. And I managed somehow to make it through the week. I did. At this point, I hadn't noticed blood in my stool yet. But I was having severe like abdominal cramping. And I was also having nausea at this point. I couldn't really keep food down. I don't know how I was going to work. I was using to hold my food down, because I would have these episodes before, and I remember that would help. But yeah, I was like, you know, whatever, it's just a stomach bug, it'll go away. That was my mindset. So I was like, let me just make it through the week. But realistically, like, if you have diarrhea for more than 3 days, you're supposed to go to the emergency room. I didn't know that. I made it through the week because that Friday was Halloween, and I just wanted to make it through the week. Me and my son, like, we plan our costumes like a year in advance. And do remember that day I did drink alcohol, and I do remember that it made the pain worse. I was already on a Prologix for it's an autoimmune disease I have called HS. These are the scars that I have. I took the dose on that November 1st, and I remember after that I started seeing so much blood in my stool. Yeah, I got really scared. I was like, it's getting worse. And the nausea was not going away, and I was worried because I was already like kind of losing weight too fast, and I thought it was because I was depressed. I wasn't eating a lot because I was not feeling myself in the moment. I thought it was just seasonal depression. But yeah, I do remember I couldn't keep food down, and I did end up throwing up. Yes, it might have been the fact that I ate tomato soup. Maybe it was too acidic and it didn't sit right in my stomach. Hoping I feel better tomorrow. I'm not having a good time. I might have to go to the hospital. So I drove myself to the urgent care in the middle of the night, which my family got mad at me for, but I just couldn't stop throwing up that day. It hurt. I started to feel drunk. Like when you're so dehydrated, you feel drunk. I feel delirious. I feel like I'm dying, like straight up. So I live with my sister and her wife. I just texted them. I was like, hey, I'm in the emergency room. Like, I thought that they were just gonna give me antibiotics or something and then send me home. But they did a CAT scan on me and they gave me morphine immediately. Oh my god, I feel so much better. Yeah, she gave me something for the nausea. Immediately I stopped throwing up. After the CAT scan, she came in and she was like, girl, what's going on? And I told her, and that's when she kind of scolded me for not coming in after having diarrhea for 3 days. And she was like, yeah, girl, it looks like you have colitis. And they couldn't tell me which one because there's a bunch of inflammatory diseases and they're all different. In order to know what one you have to see a specialist, which is a GI. Yeah, so she's like, girl, you need to go see a GI. You have colitis. I was like, oh, well, now we know what it is. And she's like, girl, no. She's like, it's gonna get a lot worse before it gets better. I remember that's what she said.
That's what she said.
What does she mean by that? And now I know. She had an inflammatory bowel disease as well. I forgot which one she had, but so she had it, and she felt my pain. I did not take her warning seriously, but yeah, she was right. It got a lot worse before it got better. As it takes a while to get diagnosed with these things, especially if you're so young. Like, these doctors do not believe you. They're like, you're young, you're supposed to be healthy. Whatever, they're poisoning us. Anyway, so she sends me home with antibiotics, and yeah, so I try to go to work, and the bleeding did like slow down. And then I had nausea medicine, so I was using that. But I couldn't stop pooping blood. Like, the antibiotics helped a little bit. I was like, maybe like I just need to finish my dose and I'll feel better. I went to see my primary. She took a sample of my stool. She was like, why didn't they take a sample? All these people were like, why didn't they do that? Why didn't they do this? And really, like, there's no like perfect medical care is what I've learned, and you really have to pay attention and kind of keep notes or keep track of what they're all telling you and kind of compare, because it's like trial and error, you know. But by the time she called me, I was already in the hospital again. So I admitted myself on the 15th. I just was not getting better. I was still throwing up. There was so much blood in my stool. I had no idea that my hemoglobin was low. When I went in, I was at a 10. And the next day it dropped to an 8. So I dropped 2 points in 1 day. That is a lot of blood to lose in 1 day. And I remember feeling so tired, like so fatigued. Like you feel dead, like no energy. So I was at the hospital for 6 days. And it felt like they couldn't really tell me much. And they sent me home with a bunch of fucking pills. It was hard for me to keep track of which ones to take at what time. You know, it's a red flag if they send you home with pain pills and they don't like hound you about it. Sure enough, I had to go back to the hospital, and they didn't even tell me like, hey, try not to fucking eat fiber or fruits or vegetables. Like, that's gonna make it worse. So at this point, when I was at home, I was eating, yes, but it was going right through me. As soon as I would take a sip of something, I would have to use the restroom. And now I know that that food was going through me so fast that it wasn't even absorbing any nutrients. It was just probably making my ulcers worse, causing worse inflammation. And I was still malnourished and I was still losing weight. Yeah, fiber makes it worse. Avoid like nuts and fruits and stuff if you're having a trigger. Try to just eat like simple carbs, broth, and juice. But yeah, so I was out here discharged way too fucking early from the hospital. Still starving, mind you. And yeah, I just wasn't getting better. And I was trying to work at this time like a crazy person. But I remember, like, I just didn't want to take disability. But yeah, that day I went to work. I don't know why I went in, but I remember I had to ask my coworkers to like help me carry my lunch box. Literally, my lunch and my water bottle. I probably should not have driven like that. That was too much. But I felt good like sitting down. It's just like when I would stand up. No, I shouldn't have been driving like that. But that day is when I readmitted myself. That's December 8th. And that hospital did, I think, a better job of taking care of me. Forgot I was doing my makeup. And so one of the first things they said to me was, hey, you're not leaving here until we do a colonoscopy, which was music to my ears, dude. When the time came around for me to get one, I remember the nurses were like, we've never seen somebody so excited for a colonoscopy, but I knew it was a milestone. That liquid, that is the nastiest thing that I've ever tasted. I was starving. My stomach was and you can't eat anything. And I was pooping every fucking 20 minutes. That was the worst night of my life. But I knew that it was important. Yeah, they got me on steroids and I was discharged and everything was fine. But the thing is, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, every time I was discharged, it was hard to get an appointment because it was around the holidays. And then my hemoglobin would drop and I'd have to go back to the hospital. So I kept having to go in and get blood transfusions. So it was just like a constant thing until my IVs got approved. The steroids would help. But the thing about the steroids is, yeah, they make you swollen, they make you bloated, they make the bleeding worse. But it helps with inflammation and it helps with your energy levels and it makes you hungry. So it's like a lot of pros and a lot of cons with the steroids. So they would help. And I was on 60 milligrams, which is a lot for 100 pounds. And they make you moody. They make you, so much. They lower your immunity. I was on them for like 3 months. The only thing that helped was the Prologics. Mind you, this started around the week of Halloween. I didn't get my first Prologic until January 28th. So I was suffering for 3 months and I did take disability, but like all the times I was at home discharged, maybe I'd have like a few good days where the steroids really gave me energy and I would like clean my house or like have a few productive days. But like, yeah, your body would get used to the steroids and then I would start to feel like crap again. And then I was literally just eating and sleeping. And yeah, so I'd be scared to go anywhere because I have to poop every like 30 minutes. Since like it was a terrible time. But yeah, I'm having fun right now. Just trying to gain the weight back. I would assume that I got down to like 95 pounds, just how I looked. I think I'm at 110 pounds right now. And I would like to be at 120 or 130. That seemed to be my sweet spot. I'm trying not to stress about it. So the first symptoms I ignored, which I can date back to like the beginning of the year. At that point, I was seeing somebody, like when we'd go out to eat, I remember I would get full really fast and he'd be like, well, what's wrong? You know, because at that point, like we were eating a lot when we were going out to eat. And I was so hungry. And then like the food would come and I would take a couple bites and then I would feel so full. My stomach was probably inflamed and it made me not feel hungry. Another symptom was me losing weight rapidly. And at the time I did start going to the gym too and like eating healthier. Like I lose weight and gain weight really fast and really easy. So I was like, well, I'm just going to the gym. Like I'm putting in the work. But it was happening really fast. And then what else? Oh, another one is like my stool. Who pays attention to that? You should. But yeah, my whole life and leading up to this, I did notice like my stool would be really skinny at times. Obviously, that is a sign of inflammation. Now I know it was mucus, but I would see like white stuff. And I would get scared because I ate a lot of sushi. I was like, oh my god, is that fucking parasite? And I don't know why, I ignored it, alright? Like negligence. And there was times there was blood in my stool, but you know, I've given birth. I have hemorrhoids sometimes, okay? So that's what I thought that was, like a little blood in my boob. That's not normal, turns out. And then also, like, some of the times where I would get really full at these restaurants, sometimes it was accompanied by nausea. So, and then also sometimes these were triggered by alcohol. And so I did try to cut out alcohol, and I mean, it did help because that was a trigger for it, but that wasn't the issue. Growing up, there was a lot of symptoms, and like I said, my parents would neglect themselves, so it was something that was taught to me. I know I've had this since I was like a teenager. I guess we just thought I had a sensitive stomach because it was always triggered by stress. This is an autoimmune condition, so there's not a certain thing that I ate too much of. There's not a certain thing that I would eat that would make me throw up or get triggered. There's no correlation of the food. Now, obviously, when I have ulcers, there's foods that I need to ignore while I have a flare-up. And these things most likely were not triggering it. They most likely were like inflaming a situation that was already there. I've had high stress my whole childhood. Up until a couple, maybe 3-4 years ago, I had a narcissist father. I went to the narcissist man. I've had stress my whole life. And so that kills you. Or causes autoimmune diseases. If you feel something in your gut, like, hey, there's something wrong, to go get it checked out. As I explained, I always thought these symptoms were something else. Like, I went to the OBGYN because I was feeling cramps. I always like to use a gray as a base for my lip liner. But yeah, I went to the OBGYN because I thought I was having stomach cramps at one point. Yeah, and I thought it was like my ovaries. Me not having an appetite or getting full too fast. I thought that was my depression. Like, every symptom, I feel like I dismissed it for something else. But the truth is, our generation is going to have a lot of GI issues. That's kind of the purpose of this video, to spread awareness. Because I felt really dismissed because of how young I am. They kept saying, oh, you're so young. You're so young. So, I'm still pooping blood. I'm still pooping blood, and I don't care that I'm 28. I need a fucking colonoscopy. I've heard of people getting denied things because they're young. Our government's trying to kill us. No, yeah, I've met a lot of people. Like, I went to dark tan because I heard that red light helps with, like, inflammation. And so I do, like, the red light therapy on my stomach, and I do feel like it helps. And, like, 2 of the girls had Crohn's disease at the front, and they were both, like, early 20s. And I think of Pete Davidson and his Crohn's disease. And I googled it. Most people who get diagnosed with this, they're either under the age of 30 or they're over the age of 60. But it's like... Anyways, I wanted to talk about the things that help me, okay? So as I mentioned, like, I was eating the wrong things. Like, after that first urgent care, I was still clueless. I think up until that second hospital visit, I was pretty clueless as far as what was going on. But the more doctors I saw, the more specialists, the more I kind of understood. And then once I left that hospital in January, I'm like, all right, I got this down. When I left, I was on a couple different medications. The ones that stuck out to me that helped me the most are, well, for one, the steroids. That helps with the inflammation. Those help me eat. If you're ever eating and you suddenly feel not hungry and you're like, ooh, I should be eating more than this, why do I feel like that? That is most likely an inflammatory disease. Yeah, until I was on steroids, I felt like shit. And then they took me off steroids. I don't know what nurse took me off steroids in one of the hospital visits, but immediately I felt the difference. And I remember I was asking for pain pills constantly, and my blood pressure got so low, they're like, we can't give you any more pain pills, like, you're gonna go into cardiac arrest. But I was like, what's wrong? Some nurses kind of just do their thing, and I didn't know they stopped giving me steroids. And the other one is mesalamine. This one is specifically for ulcerative colitis, I believe. I have to take 4 of those big ass pills, and I have to take a repository pill. You ever stuck a pill up your ass? I have. Yeah, no. So a lot of the times that I had to go back to the hospital, it was because my intestines were so messed up that they couldn't absorb the steroids that I was on, and so that's why I would start to feel bad. So whenever I would go to the hospital, they would give me the steroid through the IV, and that's when I would get better. So yeah, mesalamine, repositories, those, because you stick, you know, they can't be absorbed the wrong way because you're directly... And there's repositories for everything. Turns out there's some for THC. The next one is pentroprazole, which is a protonics, and this is for acid reflux, or like heartburn and stuff like that. I have to take a prebiotic. People should take those anyways, but definitely it helps me get things moving. Iron, because I am severely anemic, and so I'm not in any pain anymore, but like when I left the hospital that second time, they wouldn't send me home with any pain pills. You can get addicted to those, so they would send me home with gabapentin and dicyclamine for the pain, because there was times where my intestines would straight up like spasm, and I'd feel it down to my butthole like lightning. Ibuprofen, I would stick to Tylenol, gabapentin, and dicyclamine. When I was in severe pain and I'd have to go back to the hospital, I'd be like, oh, I have to go back to the hospital. But as soon as I would get those pain meds, I'd be like, oh my god. Like, it's like I would forget how much I was enduring or tolerating, you know? And then as soon as the pain would go back to zero, it's like, oh my god. This is what a zero feels like. Because I got so used to the pain. It wasn't until the third hospital visit that I was giving anti-diarrhea medicine, which I was very confused about because it helped so much. I was not aware of Imodium and like its benefits and stuff. But yeah, I would take an Imodium and then it helped me sleep the whole night. You gotta be careful though, because it can constipate you if you take too much of it. And being constipated while your intestines are inflamed, it didn't make a difference as far as the bleeding. So if there was a night where it was really bad, because like sometimes like I'd go to the restroom and I'd have to like fart, but it's just like, and it was just like blood, you know. So there was times where there was just such bad bleeding that I would like, even though I took an anti-diarrhea, I'd still have to go to the restroom, because it's like, yeah, that goes, it clogs up bowel movements, not like ulcers bleeding, you know. But it did help. It did help. Heating pad was very helpful, and now it just stays by my bed. What else? CBD, actually, I need to get a CBD vape, but it helps with inflammation, and a lot of people use it for their inflammatory diseases like arthritis, IBM. But yeah, so I'm not recommending, I'm not a doctor. As far as things you should avoid, I would say you should avoid drinking alcohol when you're in flare-ups. Some people say caffeine, some people it doesn't affect them. I did notice things that would make me gassy, like dairy, like beans and lentils. Those things also have a lot of fiber, so you should ignore them for those reasons. But yeah, things that had a lot of fiber, obviously it hurt when they were passing through my intestines. When I would use the restroom, it was so painful when I ate these foods. So I would avoid like nuts, seed, anything that like cleans your gut, avoid it. So I would stick to like bread, broth, rice, meat, like easily digested meat, nothing too greasy. I think everybody's different as far as the things that bother them with this disease and the things that they can tolerate and eat while they're in a flare-up. So these are just things that worked for me. These are just my experiences that I had, but it was hard to see it was hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I had a lot of moments where I broke down and I was like, fucking kill me. And I'm genuinely like laughing so I don't cry, because it was scary, because it could be worse. It could be worse. Like, I'm glad that the medicine worked for me and I didn't have to do all that. But yeah, these people came in and they were like, hey, like, if this doesn't work, like, you might have to have your colon removed. Like, there's like a poop bag that you have to get temporarily. Some people have it permanently. And like, they take out your colon and then they put your large intestine like in the place of it. So if things are bad enough, you need surgery. And I was like, please no. Like, that sounds like a lot of recovery time. And I was worried the whole time. I'm like, oh my god, am I gonna lose my job? Like, I haven't worked in a long time. That sounds like I'm gonna take a long time off of work. That sounds so expensive. And so there was times where I was like, fucking kill me. Because if I can't eat, I don't want to live. If I can't eat what I want, take me out of here, okay? Because I like live to eat. I love food. This was a personal hell for me, like a fucking personally written, curated nightmare for me specifically. I lived it. I can fucking go through anything now. I can handle anything now. I have to have another colonoscopy in 5 months, and I'm so scared. But this time it'll be better because I'm not like starving to death. But yeah, that, like, I can go through anything now. That was so hard. If you're going through this, we're strong. We're strong as fuck, boy. So sad. I had biceps now. I still need to go to therapy for this. I still need to heal my relationship with food. I'm excited for the day that I can eat a big fucking salad. And I hope the Prologics work and continue to work. I now know what to look out for as far as symptoms in case things flare up again. I'm letting you know the symptoms and you can fucking go get checked if you have felt any of them, because had I gotten checked sooner, this could have all been avoided. Your stomach or your gut is where the emotional chakra is, right? The emotions. And I felt it. I felt it go up and down. It almost felt like a purge. If you feel any of these symptoms, definitely go get them checked out. And then know that you're not alone, especially if you're really young. Like, I feel your pain. How do I even end this video off? God, I talked about poop so much. But yeah, it will get better. I'm still not even at 100%. I still have to go to the gym and replace all the muscle that I lost. This is where I'm at. This is where my body's at. We'll see when I feel ready for that. I'm starting off at home with some home workouts before I go. They say baddies have stomach issues, right? Hopefully this made you feel better. I don't think I'll feel better until I see people relating below. It is what it is, alright? Okay, that's it.